Have you ever wondered about all the different parts that make up your body? We often think about big, important parts like our heart, brain, or lungs. But there are smaller parts that have amazing stories to tell too. One of these fascinating parts is a tiny bone located at the very bottom of your spine. This bone is called the coccyx, but most people know it by its more common name, the tailbone. It is a small, triangular-shaped bone, usually made up of 3 to 5 vertebrae that have fused or grown together into a single piece. Finding it is quite simple. It is right at the base of your spine, below the sacrum, tucked between the buttocks. It is the final piece of your vertebral column. This little bone is a direct link to our deep, ancient past. It's like a fossil that we carry around with us every single day. The reason we call it a tailbone is because it is exactly that. The leftover remnant of a tail that our very distant ancestors once had. Millions of years ago, the creatures that eventually evolved into humans had long tails, which were incredibly useful for balance and communication. As our ancestors began to walk upright on 2 legs, the need for a long, swinging tail for balance slowly disappeared. Over many, many generations, the tail became shorter and shorter until it vanished completely, leaving behind only this small, bony structure as a reminder of our evolutionary journey. The tailbone is what scientists call a vestigial feature. The word vestigial might sound complicated, but it has a simple meaning. It describes a part of an organism that has lost most or all of its original function through the long process of evolution. Think of it like an old tool in a toolbox that you don't use anymore, but you keep it around for sentimental reasons, or because it has found a new, minor use. The tailbone is no longer used for wagging or balancing while climbing trees, which was its original purpose. It is a biological souvenir from a time when our family tree looked very different than it does today. Humans are not the only ones with these evolutionary leftovers. The animal kingdom is full of incredible examples of vestigial features. Take giant whales, for instance. These massive sea creatures have tiny hip bones hidden deep inside their bodies. These bones serve no purpose for swimming in the ocean, but they are evidence that the ancestors of whales were land animals that walked on 4 legs. Another great example is the ostrich. These huge birds have large, powerful wings, but they cannot use them to fly. Instead, their wings are now used for balance when they run and for communication displays. These features, just like our tailbone, are clues that tell a story about where these animals came from. To truly understand why we have a tailbone, we need to travel back in time, way back. The story starts with our shared ancestors with other primates. Many millions of years ago, the primates from which humans eventually evolved were tree-dwelling creatures. For them, a tail was an essential piece of equipment. It acted like a 5th limb, helping them grip branches, maintain their balance as they leaped from tree to tree, and communicate signals to others in their group. You can still see this in action today with many modern monkeys who use their tails with incredible skill and precision. Their tails are a key part of their survival in the forest canopy. However, the path of evolution is always changing, adapting organisms to new environments and lifestyles. The lineage that would lead to humans and our closest relatives, the great apes, gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, and bonobos, began to change. These ancestors started spending more time on the ground and developed a new way of moving around. As they started to walk upright, their center of gravity shifted. The long, muscular tail that was once so critical for balance high in the trees became less and less necessary. In fact, it might have even gotten in the way. Evolution is very practical. If a feature is no longer beneficial, it tends to shrink or disappear over time. This gradual disappearance is a classic example of how natural selection works. Individuals who happen to be born with slightly shorter tails might have had a small advantage, perhaps using energy more efficiently or being more stable on 2 feet. Over countless generations, this preference for shorter tails continued until the external tail was gone altogether from the great ape family. But while the visible tail vanished, the underlying bone structure did not disappear completely. The very last few vertebrae remained, fusing together to become the coccyx we have today. So, when you feel that small bone at the base of your spine, you are feeling a direct connection to a tailed ancestor. This shared feature, the lack of a visible tail but the presence of a tailbone, is one of the key pieces of evidence that connect humans to the other great apes. We all inherited this trait from a common ancestor that lived millions of years ago. It's a powerful reminder that our species is part of a much larger family of life on Earth. The tailbone acts as a silent storyteller, preserving a chapter of our evolutionary history right inside our own bodies. It tells a tale of a dramatic shift in how our ancestors lived, moving from a life in the trees to a life on the ground, a change that paved the way for humanity. While the tailbone may have lost its original job of supporting a tail, it is not completely useless. Evolution is clever and often finds new uses for old parts. Today, your tailbone serves as a very important anchor point within your pelvis. Think of it as a central hub where many different tissues connect. Several important muscles of the pelvic floor attach to the coccyx. These muscles form a supportive sling at the bottom of your torso, and they are crucial for supporting organs like your bladder, your rectum, and, in women, the uterus. Without the tailbone providing a firm point of attachment, this muscular floor would be much weaker. In addition to muscles, the tailbone is also an attachment site for various ligaments and tendons. Ligaments are the tough, flexible tissues that connect bones to other bones, and they help stabilize your joints. Tendons connect muscles to bones. The ligaments and tendons that connect to the coccyx help to reinforce the entire pelvic structure, contributing to the overall strength and stability of your core. This network of connections is vital for everyday functions, including controlling your bowel movements. The muscles anchored to the tailbone play a direct role in the function of the anal sphincter, helping you maintain continence. It's a small bone doing a very big and important job. Another key function of the tailbone becomes obvious whenever you sit down. When you are sitting, especially when you lean back slightly, your body weight is distributed across a few key points. Your two ischial tuberosities, often called your sight bones, take most of the pressure. However, the tailbone acts as the third point of this tripod, helping to provide stability and balance. It works alongside the sit bones to support your weight and keep you steady. This function might not be as dramatic as swinging from a tree, but it is an important part of your daily comfort and posture, something you probably use without ever thinking about it. So, although we define the tailbone as vestigial because its original function is gone, it has been repurposed. It has taken on a new role as a structural support system. It is not essential for survival in the way that a heart or lungs are. People can and do have their tailbones surgically removed in cases of severe chronic pain. But its presence makes our anatomy work much more smoothly. It's a perfect example of how evolution doesn't just throw things away. Instead, it tinkers and adapts, finding new purposes for old structures in a process of biological recycling that spans millions of years. Because the tailbone serves as an anchor for so many muscles and ligaments and is located at a point that takes a lot of impact, it can be surprisingly easy to injure and very painful when you do. A common injury is a bruised or fractured coccyx, often caused by a direct impact, like slipping on ice and landing hard on your bottom. Childbirth can also sometimes put immense pressure on the tailbone, leading to injury. When the tailbone is hurt, the pain can be intense and persistent. This is because every time you move, sit, or even have a bowel movement, you are pulling on the many muscles and ligaments attached to that small injured area. The pain from a tailbone injury, known as coccydynia, can be especially bad when sitting down. This is because sitting puts direct pressure on the coccyx, aggravating the bruised bone or fracture. People with this condition often have to sit on special donut-shaped cushions to relieve the pressure on the sensitive area. Healing can also be a slow process. According to medical experts, a bruised tailbone might take a few weeks to a month to feel better, while a fracture can take up to 3 months to fully heal. It is a frustrating injury that highlights just how involved this tiny bone is in our everyday movements. One of the most amazing facts about our connection to tails happens before we are even born. During early development, between the 4th and 8th weeks of gestation, human embryos actually grow a small tail. This embryonic tail is complete with several vertebrae and extends from the end of the spine, looking very much like the tails of other mammal embryos. However, in most cases, this tail does not continue to grow. Special cells are programmed to break it down, and the body reabsorbs it, leaving just the internal coccyx behind. This is a powerful, visible sign of our shared evolutionary heritage happening inside the womb. Once in a while, this process of reabsorption doesn't happen completely, and a baby can be born with what is called a pseudo-human tail. This is a rare occurrence. These appendages are usually soft, containing fat, connective tissue and muscle, but typically no bone or cartilage, and they are not connected to the spinal cord. They are a harmless reminder of that embryonic tail that all humans briefly possess. From our ancient ancestors to our development as embryos, the tailbone is a constant thread in the human story. A small but mighty bone that connects our present to our distant past and continues to serve us in quiet but important ways.